Hey, and welcome back to a video on God's favorite YouTube channel. Now, let me tell you about an event that transpired today that taught me a couple lessons. Well, it didn't really necessarily teach me a couple lessons, but just kind of brought up some points that I think any good human being should know. Essentially, when it boils down to it, it costs $0 to just not be a dickhead, you know? And that was very clear to me today. Um, with some stuff that happened, not in this footage, but in some other footage that I don't have anymore, and I'll tell you why. Essentially, it was a very classic argument of the airsoft field. It was somebody full autoed, you know. A group of individuals on the opposite side, they were on the attacking side, we were on the defending side, started to accuse a couple people on our side of using full auto. Okay. Classic argument. Everyone's seen that's not full auto, this is full auto. Everyone has seen all of these arguments over airsoft, which is stupid, to say the least. It's not worth it to argue over this game. But anyway, an escalation was created when one person who was, I believe, on their side did start full autoing. They started unleashing their rounds into us. It hit me in the back. I was dead at the point. I was walking back to spawn. I had my hand up and everything. A couple other people who were next to me who also were shot, who were walking back to the spawn. They just kind of got full auto in the back. You know, started swearing, started flying. Everyone was telling each other to fuck off. There was a lot of bad blood going on already. And a bunch of people on our side started to full auto back. And that's where it really started. So, as the steady stream of plastic is kind of just going in between the bushes and stuff, they're firing back at all of us. We're firing at them. Swears being thrown on each side. This group of people, two teenagers and their dad, who is just a full-grown ass man, 45 at the very least, who I'll call the digicam people, because they are all wearing some kind of digital camouflage, really take this to heart, and they march over to this one kid, who I guess they thought was the source of all the full auto, just holding down the triggers on their HPAs. So, I see this in the moment. I'm like, oh, shit. Here we go. They grab him by the vest. All three of them, by the way. And just unleash into this kid. He's 17. We'll call him I. He was a very nice individual that I talked to afterward. And he, they're aiming right for his head. Switch to full auto. Hold down the trigger. Unload. At this point, the refs are rushing over. Everyone's yelling. It was a pretty fucked up scene. So there's no question about what happened, at least we believe. But the refs rush over, and then the digicam people are immediately like, "Oh, well, it wasn't our fault because they full autoed first." And they're they're finally taking their hands off his vest, for example, and they just put on the safeties on their guns and stuff. The refs, they separate us. They ask us what happened. I was right there. I saw everything. I had the camera, so the owner, who had, run over, came to me and just asked me what had gone up. And, I gave him the footage. I told him, I was like, there was some arguments. These guys grabbed him. The digital cam people tried to say that there was a punch thrown. Upon reviewing the other footage that the digital cam people actually recorded themselves, there was not, at least to what I was told. What I saw was the victim. He pushed them away after they had grabbed him, but that was kind of it. I did the right thing in the moment and kind of just stood there and took it, which had every right to throw another punch back, but he didn't, which was the right thing. And they separate us. My footage was confiscated. Since I had the video. Um, and since there was a digicam man that was 45 grabbing and full autoing a child, essentially a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, the cops had to get called. And then that was when it got really kind of like, oh shit, this is kind of real, you know. I had never been in a fight like this before. This was kind of my new thing. This field that I go to is a absolutely wonderful field. They're all very professional there. They do very well, and they rarely ever have any fights. Um, this was one of the very rare instances, and it was just all around a kind of a crazy thing. So after all that, we head back to the staging area, and the owner's talking to us, making sure we stay away. We're told that the cops has to come. They take my footage, and that's where one of the biggest things that I'm a little bit upset about happened, where I learned that my footage didn't fucking record the fight, which I mean, like, call me a dickhead for being upset about this when there was clearly something worse going on, but like of all the times to not record, that was definitely not the best time. It really came down to I didn't clear my SD card beforehand. I had been working on some other footage before, and I made the mistake of leaving it on the micro SD that goes into my camera, and that was my fatal error there. So I lost several hours of footage. It wasn't just the incident. Um, so that means that there will not be a video apart from this one about this whole game. But enough about that. Moral stories of that story. Just if you work with cameras, anything digital, just fucking clean your drive, dude. It's not that hard. I had just genuinely made a mistake and forgotten to. And I should have checked beforehand, and I could have, and I had opportunities to, but I didn't, and that was where my fault happened. But anyway, the cop comes. We reviewed the father's footage, who did also record. I don't know if I already mentioned that or not. And it wasn't really showed what he did, but it was very clear that the little kids, they were like 17. They were teenagers too. Also the Digi Clan, very clearly did do what they did. Um, but the cop just kind of explained to us that it's in Maryland where this happened. It's really kind of hard to charge a minor with a crime unless it's like really serious. There was, I mean, other than the mask, there was very minor destruction of property. Um, there wasn't really like a whole, like there was not a full fight that broke out. No blood was really spilled, luckily. So they couldn't really do anything. And since there wasn't really enough people, well, there was enough people there, but there wasn't enough like video evidence that the father did anything. Which to all of us, it looked sure as hell like he did. Um, they just couldn't really. They couldn't really 100% say like, yeah, like take this to court. Um, the cop just advised us that like if you could take it to court if you'd like, but it's just like it without the proper evidence, it might be a little bit difficult. So I don't know what the family of who again was the victim, is going to do about this. Because I know that originally they wanted to press charges, but I don't know if they're going to end up doing that. That's really up to them. But the digital cam people, right after right after we talked to the cop, this was promptly banned from all the fields here and anywhere that shared ownership with this field. It was it was a nice thing. They they might not end up getting in criminal trouble, or they might, but at the end of the day, they got banned from the field, which was awesome. Because at the end of the day, this is a fucking game. This is us just coming out on the weekends, just trying to have fun. Nobody here wants to cause harm, apart from maybe some minor little red marks with our BBs. Nobody here wants to ruin each other's day, but these guys decided that there's no money on this. It's not an event. It was a weekend game, that they were so butthurt that maybe that they were in the wrong, that they had to march over and, genuinely just hurt a kid, prove their point, which ironically made it look worse with them. So again, moral of the story, it's free to be kind. Everyone here is here to have fun. Don't be a dick. Luckily, at the end, nobody was seriously injured. I, the victim, walked away with some minor red marks and welts, but nothing that couldn't heal with time. He really walked away with a good story, and that's really important. So justice was at least partly served with the Digicam people. I was okay. Personally, I was okay, and some other people who were shot in the back too were all fine. So just again, it's free to be kind. You don't have to be a dickhead. You make a fool of yourself, and you put a bad name on everyone's favorite sport here. So just calm down, and just maybe if they did full auto, just talk to a ref next time, or just take it, because it's at the end of the day it doesn't matter. Anyway, so I just needed to go and get that out and kind of log that. So you guys all have a great night. Subscribe, share. Look out for the next video, which will come eventually. I can't guarantee when. Subscribe to Black Pine Contractors, and see ya.